For the Players, the pop culturist PlayStation podcast is fueled by the Man Shake. I lost 30 kilos in 10 months using this meal replacement shake. If you want to support the show and max in my weight loss journey, or to even start your own, click the link in the description below. The Man Shake. Real blokes, real results.
For the Players.
I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm Max Cooper.
And this is For the Players, the pop culturist PlayStation podcast with 40 years of playing PlayStation, 8 plus years, and that games media can buy. I'd like to thank you for joining us in this PlayStation conversation.
This PlayStation conversation happens every Monday morning at 8 a.m. on podcast services, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. If you'd like to take part in future conversations with us, come and check out our socials, Facebook, Discord, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those links can be found in the description below.
If you want to join us as the conversation happens, head over to twitch.tv/thepopcultures, where you can watch us record this show live, where you can jump in the chat and become part of the show. If you want to support the show, you can. Tell your friends, tell your family about this PlayStation pod. If you are watching us if you're listening to us on podcast services, sure, give us a 5-star rating and a written review. If you are watching us on YouTube, sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment below. I endeavor to answer every single comment. If you want to support us financially, you can at patreon.com/thepopculturist, as well as our merchandise store, popculturist.com/shop, where you can buy shirts and other assorted shit with our logos on it. Hi everyone, we're back after another week off. We have returned once again, hopefully returning to a regular, semi-regular schedule, at least coming into the Christmas break, which we haven't even worked out what that is yet. Probably, I don't know, let's have a look. Let me have a quick see. What are we going?
Well, Christmas Day falls on a Saturday, so
yeah, that ain't happening.
And then the weekend previous is my daughter's and wife's birthdays.
Yeah, we might we might end up just like the 14th. Might be a lot. So wait, hang on. So what's that? That's 1, 2. Might get 3 more episodes out of us before Christmas. At best 3, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah. So there's just been some things rattling around in the ether, some changes that have been happening, and as a result, it's kind of thrown a bit of spanner in the works, in the production side of things. So thankfully, last week we were able to still give you an episode with our very special PAX Australia, PAX Radio version of the show, where we talk about the state of PlayStation. With that one fresh out of the vault for you all. I hope you enjoyed it. We were joined by Paul James Games as well as Joel Grolton to chat where PlayStation is at in 2021. But Max, it's good to see your face again on the Zooms.
Back to the online.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably safe. I'm sick-ish at the moment. I've been off work for the most of this week. Took the Wednesday off work. Called my boss Tuesday morning as I was leaving work saying, hey, look, my kid's sick. Can I get a day off? My wife can't get Wednesday off, but she's off Thursday, Friday. But my boss is like, yeah, no worries. Family first, all good. I then have to ring my boss the next morning saying, I am now sick as a dog and I cannot come back to work. And he's like, yep, that seems reasonable. I'll see you on Monday. So I've had all week off and it's thrown me for a loop.
Yeah, because especially when you're working overnights, as we've talked about here 1,000 times.
I literally forgot what day it was at one point.
Yeah.
Because going to work kind of tells me what day it is.
And then
I'm like...
And then additionally, because you're working through the nighttime, you can't change your schedule. Your schedule has to remain the same.
Oh, yeah.
So, you still have to, stay up and do whatever and,
Yeah, there was a lot of, late snotty nights, coughing my guts up, and...
It was hot.
Ended up having to go and get a COVID test done just to be on the safe side. Not that I thought that was ever an ish.
We still got to do it. It is the right thing to do.
Yeah, so that all came back.
Even in our everything is open world.
Yeah, well, not anymore.
What?
As of this morning, I believe Victoria has reclosed their borders to international due to the new Omicron strain.
Oh, yeah, the Omicron Persei 8 from Futurama.
So that's all back to hotel quarantine, I believe, for any overseas travelers, which is probably
a good idea.
Probably smart call.
Probably smart. It's not the worst call.
It just seems like this shit'll never end.
Yeah. Well, my 2 weeks, I guess, have been interesting to say the least. But one thing I have done the last 2 weeks, so yesterday, the time of recording, and the time before, was fantastic. After finally being able to get wrestling back in my life. So originally I had a week off of work for stress leave, where I went and stayed with my dad, who lives in Melbourne. So I essentially just like escaped everything that was here in Geelong and just had a week away to sit and process and digest the world and just take some time away. And that did end with two shows for Deathmatch Down Under, my favorite independent wrestling promotion of choice. We had Dream, which is Death Rules Everything Around Me, Australia's first ever deathmatch tournament. So it was 6 matches, all death matches. So people just getting stabbed and bleeding and going through tables and glass and.
I mean, did anyone die, or is it just like false advertising?
No one died. There was no actual death. But shout out to Kellen Butcher becoming Australia's first ever deathmatch champion, which is amazing, or deathmatch tournament champion. And then last night I had another DMDU show, which was the show was called Peer Pressure from Dead People. Which I love a name because it's tradition, right? Like it's tradition is peer pressure from dead people. So originally it was supposed to be at the Ukrainian Hall in Essendon, which is itself a traditional spot for Melbourne wrestling, but instead it was both shows were at the Arrow on Swanston, which is great. Fun fact for anyone that does listen and is in from the Geelong area, DMDU are coming to Geelong in January for Malice at the Palais, where they'll be doing deathmatch here in Geelong. I'm going. You should all go.
Why didn't they call it Melee at the Palais? Wouldn't that have made more sense?
It's written as Malice at the Palace, but
yeah, I know, but that's not how it's pronounced. No. So I feel that they did it. They missed an opportunity.
No, they really did. But no, I'm very very excited. Yeah, very excited to hopefully. Hey, just show all you people. I'd love to get you there, Max, because I know you're not a wrestling dude, but like watching someone get like fucking yeeted through light tubes is an experience.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
It's an adrenaline rush to no end. Yeah. So like it's been an interesting couple of weeks, but it was nice to sort of to bookend the weeks with wrestling as a complete just forget everything's going and just like step away for a while and at least for a handful of hours just mark out for a little while, which has been nice. But one thing we have always continued to do, Max, is play games. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here to talk about. So, what have you been playing over the last 2 weeks?
Oh man, so I believe the last time we recorded, I made the comment of I should really uninstall Diablo 2 so I can play other games.
You should.
Turns out I didn't do that, and I've just been playing a ton of Diablo 2. I have been playing is it the 25th anniversary edition of Skyrim? 25?
No.
20?
No.
10?
10.
10?
Yeah, the big fancy pants special edition.
The big fancy pants special edition. So I already owned the game, so I got the free upgrade to the PS5 version.
I did not have it digitally, so full disclosure, we were provided a review code from the team over at Bethesda Australia and Power Up PR, so big thank you for that.
So I haven't checked out any of the new content yet because I started fresh.
Yeah, me too.
And boy, howdy, does this game look way better than I remember it. But I think the biggest takeaway is the fact that the game actually runs at a stable frame rate now.
Yes, I was in the same boat as you. So I pulled across my PS4 save. What?
Sorry, my wife just sent me a picture and my kid's just like passed out in her car seat in the back seat of the car. She's been trying to get her to sleep for like an hour, for the last hour and a half.
So I did the same as you. I did bring my PS4 save across, but I was like X amount of hours deep, and I was in solitude somewhere, having no idea how the hell I got there or what I was doing. So I was like, I am going to start this again, which is a great idea because as Buddy in the chat mentioned, Skyrim, the game that never stops re-releasing, and every time it's re-released, for some reason I either play it or get a review code, and I go, cool. And then I look at it, I'm like, I'm just going to have to start again. Right? So I just start again. And which is great because I've seen that opening cutscene so many times I can, for me, it's essentially the best way to spot the differences. And for me, as you said, like the game just looks better and it runs fantastic.
So I did try and put it through its paces and kind of loaded a ton because it now has mod. I think it's had mod.
It's
support
had mod
for a while.
support at least since the special edition, not this.
Yeah,
version,
so
but-
I kind of loaded a bunch of mods to see how crazy it would get before it kind of wigged itself out. And it holds up. It really, you know, it definitely can hold its own now. Because obviously there was always there's always been that big discrepancy of the PC version and the console versions, because the console versions never had a stable frame rate. You were lucky to hit that 30 FPS with you know, just the standard version running no mods. But now it does have that smooth. I believe it's running at 60 now.
Yeah, pretty clean. Yeah.
But yeah, it actually holds it, and there's no jittering. I spent about 4 hours playing it the other night, and then I think one of the mods that I had loaded somehow got me essentially soft locked. One of the characters that I needed to speak to complete a quest was just like, they would talk to me, but they wouldn't give me the right dialogue line to like complete the quest. So that was kind of fun. But yeah, it's just you know, it brings back all those nostalgic memories of playing it way back when. But it just looks so significantly better and runs. The improvements are drastic.
Yeah, so some of the things that I noticed straight away were texture detail, because when I booted up the original save, I was in Solitude and I was in like a castle, and just having a look at the minor details of the just the brick wall and the moss, and just like it's minor things that really have just made it a little bit. Like lighting effects were a big thing. Now I know the previous version that came across the PS4 did sort of bring in God rays and a lot of that volumetric lighting, but to see it used even further here again, it does sort of add that nice look for it. However, because if anyone has played Skyrim on PlayStation at all in its history, will know that it ran like shit on the PS3. The PS4 version was okay, but not really like the best it could be. But here I do feel like this is the best way to play Skyrim if you're a PlayStation person like we are, right? Because it is running, like it's almost jarring because I'm so used to Skyrim running and playing unideally, I guess. I look at it and it almost gives me a little bit of motion sickness.
Well, see, I mean, the differences have been huge for me because the last time I played Skyrim in VR on PlayStation, and the texture detail on that is kind of lackluster at best, and to now come through and play the PS5 native version is a significant improvement. And yeah, you're right, it is definitely, if you're a part of the PlayStation family of consoles, this is definitely the way you want to experience that game.
Yeah, straight up. Because
yes, I think almost everyone in existence has experienced this game in one way, shape, or form, but this is definitely a good reason to go back.
Yeah, and in the chat, no, which I imagine like because that's what it is, but I imagine it's like Darth Vader and Revenge of the Sith, has asked, has Lydia gotten useful? No, Lydia has never been useful. But she
is useful. You can use her to sacrifice as to get the.
I just dump all my shit in her backpack. That's about it, really.
Classic. She's the mule.
She's my mule. I'm like, I'm carrying too many swords. Here you go. That's what she has been the best use for me. So she's useful in that because those things haven't changed, but I'm sure the AI is still a little bit shit. But look, overall, you know, I would. And once again, if you're a PlayStation person, you try to play it on PS4, try to play it, this is the best place to play it, which also makes sense for a PlayStation person to play it on the PS5. It just checks out. Like, logically, it just makes sense. You've got this version, that version, that version. You play it here, it's powerful as fuck. Like, it's gonna work. It will give you that best experience. But if you've played it before, beware that it's going to wig you out a little bit because your brain's not going to be able to comprehend at least the smoothness of Skyrim. Now, I said I'm very keen to get back in there a bit more. I was going to play it on my week off. I was ready and raring to go. Instead, I ended up playing other games instead. Just kind of my brain was in different space and it wasn't quite ready for a big fantasy role-playing game like that. But, Max, I did play another fantasy-esque game over that time, which was Tiny Tina's one-shot adventure. Was it something from Dragon Keep?
Yeah, Assault on Dragon Keep.
Assault on Dragon Keep. So it was like, for those that don't know, Borderlands 2 back in the day had this DLC called Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep, which is this little DLC spin-off where a couple of the Vault Hunters as well as Tiny Tina are playing essentially their
Bunkers
version.
and Badasses.
What was it, sorry?
Bunkers and Badasses.
Bunkers and Badasses.
I believe is what it's called.
They were playing their version of D&D, and you're playing in this world, and it's rad. Like, it's all fantasy, but because it is a role-playing game within a role-playing game, and it's all being narrated by Tiny Tina, things change on the fly. As you know, like, you originally start fighting this big boss and they go, that's too overpowered, and they go, oh, no worries, so she just scales it back then and there. It's especially if you're someone that has played some TRPGs, like, you do get a little bit of a chuckle out of it as you sort of see it be delivered in this very interesting gun looter shooter sort of idea, which also makes sense because D&D or most tabletop role-playing games, you kind of do a little bit of loot and shooting, so it fits quite nicely. So I'm only probably a couple hours in, just because of nature. I've not played a lot of games this week, but Max, I know you have a long history and love with this game.
Yeah, so I haven't gone back to it since they re-released it as a standalone. I believe they launched it as a standalone title to help promote their upcoming.
Yeah, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Like $15 too. It's nothing. Nothing.
So when I bought Borderlands 2, I bought the season pass, so I played it heaps. It was my favorite of the DLCs. It's such a brilliant setting because it's got that high fantasy feel to it, and it is very much, a parody of that Dungeons and Dragons. There's so many pop culture references throughout it. Borderlands 2 is very big on their Easter eggs, especially in their weapons. So like all the grenade mods are mage spells from Dungeons and Dragons. So you're throwing lightning bolts and chain lightning and fireballs and meteor storms and magic missiles. Like it's got all of those things and love from D&D, and they've just converted it into and given it that wacky Borderlands facelift.
Yeah, so it's got that weird, that cool, interesting flair to it.
Like the big bad evil guy is the same villain from Borderlands 2, but he's got a wizard's beard. And
it's Handsome Jack with a hat on. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just it's really fun. It is one of the best parts of Borderlands in my opinion.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, I'm digging it, something fierce, and for the cost that it was, I
yeah.
Because in that same transaction, I did spend $99.95 and bought the fucking Grand Theft Auto Definitive Edition, and I only really regret that. So, ugh.
Yeah. So if you want to talk about that for a bit, I through the powers of Games Pass played San Andreas, and I'm so glad that I did not spend money on these definitive editions, because they are definitively shit.
Yeah, they are not good.
Probably. So I'll pull it up in last week's news, because I had a doc ready just in case. Basically, Rockstar have come out and said, we're aware we've done goofed.
No, they said their exact quotes were, hey, due to the unforeseen issues with the game. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? You knew this. You pushed this.
Yeah.
Like, GTA, look, fun fact, if everyone knows, GTA has never been under any pressure to release anything. When have they ever straight up caved to popular demand and released something, right?
So
Never.
From memory, the rumor mill was that this collection was going to launch alongside the next-gen version of GTA 5, which was due to originally launch this month.
Yeah, November 11th.
And then GTA 5 got pushed into I think it's March next year. So maybe they were like, well, let's just drop these and we'll appease the people for having pushed GTA 5 back. It was a bad call.
Yeah, so
anyway,
I'll run through your theory after you.
Yeah, they've kind of turned around and said, we fucked up. We're gonna put the old versions back up on the store, only for PC at the moment. And anyone who bought the definitive edition but doesn't own the old versions will also be given the old versions for free, only on PC. There has been no word on anyone who's bought them on consoles. Now, thankfully, the physical editions have not launched yet. It's only digital. You can only buy it digitally at the moment. So hopefully some people decided to wait to get a physical copy, and hopefully those people will no longer be picking it up because it's a rough sell.
Yeah, so like I think part of this is here. The reason we're not seeing it re-released on consoles is I imagine in order to get the original PS2 upscale versions, at least on the PlayStation, they would likely have to recertify it because they didn't just remove it from like they straight removed it from the store. They just hide it away. Like they straight removed it by the looks.
Well, I mean, I think I had this conversation with you earlier this week. My theory of PlayStation clearly didn't certify these definitive versions because they run like asshole. They look like asshole. Like clearly something's gone awry, and they can probably put those back on the store. I can't imagine it would be that difficult.
You'd like to hope so, only because Sony have to if they have done exactly the Cyberpunk level of hey, we trust you, then that is just as bad for PlayStation as it is for Rockstar right now. If we're looking at it that way, I'm unsure whether that's the case, but. Friend of the show, DualSense podcast, the guys out of the US, they have a theory that Rockstar sort of did this as kind of a possible little power move in order to be like, hey, everyone else is releasing games that are a little half-baked, and they've been able to recover. So maybe it's them testing like, hey, how far can we push this? Like, so say, like, even though we have no plans releasing GTA 6 now, like previously, we've busted our assholes to get something as maximum awesome as we can on release.
I mean, have they? They take an entire console generation to release a game, and the majority of the time it's still buggy as hell.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, granted, the game runs, but it's still, glitchy.
Red Dead came out pretty clean. Red Dead 2, sorry.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, like this, them going, well, rather than having to take 10 years to make this, what if we can do it in 8 and then we release it a little bit shitty and then we just patch it until it's better? Like, because that's what everyone else does right now. And don't get me wrong, if this is a theory, it backfired something fierce.
But I mean, if you look at Cyberpunk, that game instantly went down in price. It is now $15. They want you to still spend $100 on these 3 games.
Oh, we should also clarify. So Stingray X in the chat does comment, while Rockstar didn't develop the ports. That is very true. They hired a team called Grove Street Games, who are the ones that made the mobile ports of GTA 3, San Andreas, and Vice City. So I think they're a subsidiary, or at least some way connected to Rockstar. So it wasn't Rockstar Games directly, but it's at least them going, look, we don't fucking care about them. Throw it over there. They'll do it, and then we can either reap the benefits or at least have the testing. Like, because as Stingray rightly points out, they didn't develop it. They can go, wasn't us.
But at the same point, like as they obviously they might not have developed it, but they've published it. As far as I'm aware.
100%. Yeah,
and for them to turn around and be like, well, this is how much we care about our own IPs is also still concerning.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of if they, they've obviously, passed it along to a team to do it. The fact that they've got so little care for their own IP is concerning.
It is. That part's a little bit gross.
Yeah.
And look, we'll wait and see. Like, there has been a big patch for all 3 of them. I haven't returned to it since those patches. I imagine it's still poo, but we'll wait and see. But was there anything else you've played this week, Max?
So the other thing is because of I'm gonna quickly divert to TV really quickly. Riot Games released their Arcane series on Netflix, which is it's a League of Legends origin story, and that has super gotten me back into League of Legends.
Gross.
The anime on Netflix is absolutely fantastic. Very well drawn, very well written. You need to have, I would actually say it would be beneficial to not have any idea of who these people are. You can go in not knowing anything about League of Legends and still have a really good time as it's an origin story. But that's got me back into League of Legends pretty hard. I've been playing it a lot this week. I've kind of missed it. And then, I'm back and forward with all the games that I'm still, play from time to time. I'm still playing Rocket League. I'm still playing Destiny. I've been playing a little bit of Halo, a little bit of Forza. I'm very much all over the place. I went back to Dark Souls 3 because I've been digging Elden Ring so much that I just want to play Souls games. So, I'm all over the place. I'm a mess.
Well, look, the closest you're gonna get from me is another game that I've been playing this week. So thank you to the team over at Power Up PR. We're given a review code for the PS5/PS4 port of Death's Door, which is the sort of it's a Souls-ish-esque roguelite-ish sort of game where you play
roguelike-ish.
I don't fucking know. It's this great little independent sort of game where you play a little raven who is the Reaper of Souls, and you just go and kill things and try to take out these 3 major souls in order to travel through Death's Door. Is sort of the easy pitch. I'm butchering it because I was playing it without sound on, and I just was listening to music or pods as I was playing it. So I may have butchered the exact story, but I know you too, Max, have played this. But you played it on Xbox back in the day.
Yeah, so it was actually the very first game I bought on my Xbox when my Series X arrived.
So how badly did I butcher what this game is about?
Generally speaking, you kind of hit the spots. Yeah, so it's one of those fun little isometric roguelike style games with some souls pitched in. So it's got your I think it's similar to that of something like Titan Souls, but it's not just a boss rush game. It does have standard enemies throughout. So as you kill the enemies, you gain essentially the souls or the currency of the game to allow you to upgrade your abilities, your health, your stamina, your weapon damage, all that fun stuff. I never got very far through the game, but the general consensus of a lot of people that I've spoken to about the game is it's Game of the Year contender.
Yeah,
and I agree. It is a very fantastic game. It's definitely not being so Souls-like. It is on the more difficult side. I wouldn't say it's a casual pick up and play game. I did struggle a little bit, but once you get the hang of it, like anything, you can kind of once you get that knowledge of how the enemies work, what their moveset type is, you can kind of you play to your strengths, play to their weaknesses, and you can get through it. Graphic wise, it's this adorable, gorgeous looking game. The art style is absolutely phenomenal. I'm a huge fan of those isometric style games where you can actually see everything around you, and it just has that static camera on you and shifts as you leave the areas. But yeah, it's fantastic.
Look, I'm really digging it.
It's definitely not a game for everyone.
No, like it's probably not really. Technically, it's probably not a Betson game, but I'm playing it anyway because I'm enjoying it. Mostly because it's charming. Like the way I love the way it looks. The concept of being this bird,
this little bird, yeah.
The concept of being this small little raven that's just stabbing and shooting things is really fun. And similar to yourself, the isometric view, I think, is what's really bringing it home for me. And I mean that in terms of with Dark Souls in that 3D space. I just kind of I don't know. I don't have my brain's not there to process it. But with the isometric view, I can see all the enemies. I can plan. I can look. I can dart. And it does that. It comes with a much more simplistic control system as well. So it is as simple as just square is chopping, X is roll. There's a heavy attack. There's some ranged attacks, but primarily you're gonna just be mushing square, which I like because it's easy. And what I love about it as well, with the isometric design, at least in the first 2 level world thingies, like they feel like one of those weird 3-dimensional paintings. just because it has the level of exploration or Metroidvania-esque things that you see in the likes of Dark Souls, with the idea is you have to go down this one path, but as you further progress that path, you start opening doorways to make your trek shorter, so that way if you do happen to be decimated by a boss at any given time, the run back to that boss is a lot smaller, and you're able to avoid all the major all these smaller enemies in order to get to that major individual. An example being in one of the first areas when you have to take on the Guardian of the Doors, which is this sort of anthropomorphic building. So as you start, making your way through, you start introducing, a bunch of characters get introduced that really help set up the beginning of the story, and doing so also teaches you some of the base mechanics. So by the time you get to the Guardian of the Doors, all the pathways are available to you, and you can go in there and then just, run back to it as you need. Because it did take me a couple of goes, because Buddy in the chat asked, hoping it's hard as fuck. I wouldn't say it's hard as fuck, but there are some things about it that will be difficult. But I think that at least it doesn't feel as punishing as, say, a Soulsborne game would be to me. But
there is essentially a hard mode. There is a weapon that you can unlock where you can do a maximum of 1 damage per hit.
Why would you do that?
And it's one of the trophies, and it's essentially like a harder mode.
It's umbrella. Is it the umbrella?
Yeah, it's the umbrella.
Yeah, I found the umbrella by accident. I'm like, I ain't using you. But yeah, so for me, at least from my experience so far, it is primarily timing based, where I feel with at least Soulsborne, that does have that sense of unforgiveness, which I find is just a lot harder. Now, at least with the initial weapon that you get, like the timing is, you get about 3 strikes, and then there's a small time delay. So there is no stamina per se compared to, say, a Souls-like, but there is a limitation on how quickly you can attack and what the recovery time of that is. You do find you kind of have to almost reconsider how you fight with a run. You run in, go 1, 2, 3, and then bounce back out in order to prevent just getting straight up fucked.
The same applies for your ranged attacks. I believe they're on a short cooldown timer.
Yeah, there is a cooldown timer. Additionally, you have to resupply your ammo, and there are ways to do that. So once you start furthering yourself in the game, it then goes, hey, this is how you can repurpose your range, or how to repurpose it as well as refuel the ammo. And then in a true Metroidvania fashion, there was something that I learned in that second world that I went, oh shit. So then I ran straight back to the first area to try to replicate it, because I remember seeing some of those things in there, but I may have been a little bit ahead of myself, because it wasn't doable. But I'm really enjoying it. I'm having a lot of fun with it. When I'm done here, when I'm editing the show, I'm probably going to play it. Because I look at it and I go, yeah, I can kind of see myself spending a little bit of time with you. But other than that, what else did I play? I played some more Far Cry 6 as well. I finally cleared out the first area. That took a fucking load of time. It was like 20 hours or something just clearing the first area, because I keep getting distracted by inane nonsense, which is what these games are designed to do, I suppose. So I still have like 2-3 more areas to go. I will likely never see credits on Far Cry 6. Still enjoying it though. Still love it. If you love Far Cry, you're gonna love Far Cry 6. It's as easy as that. Additionally, I did spend a bit of time in Story of Seasons, Friends of Mineral Town as well. There is another game that I've been playing, but off the top of my head, I can't remember when the embargo falls, so I'm gonna have to keep that hard on that one, because I can't remember what the words are, but
I'd help you out, but I have no idea what you're talking about.
I could probably look at my phone. My phone will tell me. Let's have a quick squiz. Let's check out my remembrance. Let's see. We'll go that one. Where was it? I have to do the old search.
Well, while you're searching, I'll essentially do a quick bits from last week's news that we missed. So we have a few delays.
I cannot talk about it. So that was problem solved. Easy done.
We have a few delays coming out from last week. We have Pragmata, the sci-fi Capcom project that was first announced during Sony's PlayStation 5 reveal event. It was targeting a 2022 release date, but at the start of this year, Capcom has confirmed now that it has been pushed until 2023. Saints Row was also released for scheduled for release on during February 2022, and has just been Volition has now confirmed that it has been delayed until the 23rd of August 2022.
That is
which is good.
Like, it makes sense to get the fuck out of the way of Elden Ring, etc. But like pushing it through to August,
much.
Oof.
And for a refreshing change of pace, PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 brawler Sifu has had its release date pushed forward. Originally set to launch on the 22nd of February, following a delay out of this year, it is now launching 2 weeks earlier on the 8th of February 2022, dodging that Horizon, Destiny, and Elden Ring release dates.
I am so super keen to play that fucking game. I think it's gonna like absolutely kick my ass, and I am probably gonna hate it. Because it does seem like if it was anything like Absolver, which apparently is quite hard, then I'm like,
Absolver is quite difficult.
The same devs, so if I look at okay, this might, like I said, I might age too rapidly and just fuck up the game real hard because every time you die you age, so it's not looking good for me.
Next up, we have the Game Awards nominations were released last week. Game of the Year, we have Deathloop, It Takes Two, Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village.
You know, if anything, you know what this has shown me? This has been a very quiet year. Like, not like a quiet year, because like there has been stuff that has released, but like in terms of high caliber goodness, it is kind of like, to me, if I look at this lineup, I'm like, ooh, it's a little bit poo. Like, in previous years, if you look back to last year, the year before, you're like, there are some big fucking hitters here, and it's almost like who is going to win? How? Pardon me, where I look at this list, and I'm like, it's probably Deathloop.
Next up, we have Best Game Direction. We have Deathloop, It Takes Two, Returnal, Psychonauts 2, and Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
So it's interesting. How where they go in terms of so game delivery is outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. I'm not sure where this would go. We'll probably run through it. Okay, so let's go back a step, Max. Who do you think would be winning Game of the Year out of these? Because this it's right around the corner. I don't think it's this episode's next one after.
I know. Spoiler alert. There's some news this week. Resident Evil Village won the Golden Joystick Award for Game of the Year. Personally, out of that list, and I think even on my own list, It Takes Two is my Game of the Year currently.
Yep.
It Takes Two was absolutely phenomenal. It was that co-op game that had to be played co-op. I played it with my wife. It had this, fantastic, beautiful story about it was sad a lot of the time, but it was a beautiful told story of a family going through drama, and it was so brilliantly told. It was a really good experience to have with my wife.
Yeah, so
in a weird way.
Now, I in terms of the games in this list, the only ones I haven't played is Metroid Dread and Psychonauts 2. Deathloop I enjoyed, but I think there's parts of that game that didn't really land for me all that well. It Takes Two, as I agree with you, the way the game was delivered was really clever. And I think if it was any other year, it certainly wouldn't be in this list, but I'm glad it is. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart was very, very good. I don't think it was Game of the Year worthy. I don't think there was anything super outstanding about it. Resident Evil Village, we have also, so most of these games we've reviewed on this channel as well, this podcast as well, sorry. But Resident Evil Village, I think is very, very good. It was weak in some ways, especially around its design. The idea of being a fun house of horror with almost like this Ferris wheel of, there's the central hub of the village, and then you go off and take on each of the individual bosses, and each of those individual bosses created a different genre of horror, whether it be body horror, standard traditional Resident Evil horror, or like monster horror, etc., etc. In that sense, it was very, very good, and I think it delivered in these individual experiences. But from an overall narrative perspective, it did feel a little bit disconnected, and that's the flaw of that design. So if I was to look at this list, especially going off the back of some other news, I see Deathloop doing well. because that game got in terms of critical reception this year. Deathloop's probably one of the most successful big fuck off games. So I'm gonna say it's probably a tie between Deathloop and Resi. I think from a mass appeal perspective, Resident Evil will probably take it. But with a lot of these nominations, with a lot of the voting on this being around critical reception, I see Deathloop taking it. But for best game direction, Deathloop, It Takes Two, Returnal. Returnal, surprisingly not in the Game of the Year list. I know Buddy in the chat says has been robbed by not being in there, but I guess two.
I mean, it's hard when like the critics never finished it. I guess
as someone that hasn't finished it, that is very true. So
I mean, a lot of people are saying that that Forza has been shafted. So I guess it just depends on. Obviously, Returnal has been out for the majority of the year. I do think that Returnal was a fantastic game, but it is one of those, and it happens a lot with roguelikes and Souls likes and those more difficult games. If you're not having fun with it, if it's constantly just beating you up against a wall, it doesn't matter how good the game plays or how good the game looks, or as a whole package how the sound design works and all that stuff comes together. It's a bad experience and it'll leave a bad taste in your mouth, and it just makes it hard to be like, yes, this is the game of the year, but you're gonna feel absolutely crap if you're not good at this game.
And that's very much the experience that I had. If I'm being honest, like I really liked it until the game just decimated me, and then I stopped having fun.
The game's just like it just takes you, gives you a wedgie, punches you in the gut, and then walks away.
Yeah, but then when you try to play it again, it comes back
crying in the ground.
Yeah, and then it just comes back and kicks you a bit more for funsies. So in best games direction, because what it says is awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. With that in mind, Deathloop is cool, but I don't see it being as in terms of if you want innovation and unique creative vision. I think Deathloop does have some parts about it that fit that criteria. Psychonauts 2 apparently has a great story around mental health and sort of how that works within the game, which is kind of cool. Ratchet and Clank I don't think it's very innovative. I don't think the creative vision is pretty fun.
It's very much a Ratchet and Clank game.
It's Ratchet and Clank, where the only one I think of that in terms of outstanding creative vision and innovation would be It Takes Two. Because the creative vision of having that shared storytelling, especially and only playing with two people, and then Returnal is fine. But yeah, so for me, yeah, It Takes Two. It should win from a creative and innovation standpoint.
Yeah. And then lastly, I put this one in just because I thought it was hilarious. Best RPG, we have Monster Hunter Rise, Scarlet Nexus, Shin Megami Tensei 5, Tales of Arise, and Cyberpunk 2077.
Okay.
Because obviously Cyberpunk did not make it out in time for last year's Game Awards, which means it was eligible for all the awards this year.
Oh, yeah, because it came out just after, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm glad it made at least one of the lists for the lols. I feel that's kind of the only reason it sort of got there, I guess. But fucking.
I mean, out of those, I think either Scarlet Nexus or Tales of Arise will probably take it home.
I think Tales of Arise might do it.
Both of them had. Yeah, I think I'm more leaning towards Tales. They both had fantastic stories. They both had fantastic gameplay, and they're both very different in what they, in what they've done and how they present it to you as the player, and how you experience those different stories. Scarlet Nexus obviously has that duality story of the two different protagonists, whereas Tales of Arise is one of your more traditional party style RPGs where each party member has their own backstory, but you do have 1 to 2 main protagonists and everyone else is kind of along for the ride, but they do have their own reasons to be in there.
Yeah. So with that in mind, Scarlet Nexus might sneak its way in as it is sort of a bit newer and a bit more innovative, I guess, from my perspective.
SMT5 is a Switch exclusive game that only just recently came out, so I personally haven't played it. Monster Hunter Rise is also the Switch version of Monster Hunter. I also haven't played that. And Cyberpunk is still a hot mess.
So to comment on the discussion around Deathloop and Returnal, no, in the chat adds, I find it funny. The autosave has made us soft, but now games are starting to push back and become popular, like should. In Kingdom Come, I died and lost 5 hours of progress, like the good old days. The good old days aren't always better. Right now, I'm 32. I'm a father. I have a full-time job. I only have so much time in my day. And I understand for some, this idea is good. But for me, if a game doesn't respect my time, then it can get fucked.
Remember the good old days where you used to input passwords to get back to the level you're up to?
No, fuck that noise. Fuck that noise. Like, I understand, like, for some it is ideal, but if I have lost 5 hours of progress in a game, I ain't going back to that game. To me, that is a disrespect to me as a player. Now, is that making me soft? Yeah, 100%. But like, there are features that are good. There are features that are handy in the new world, right? So
yeah, they don't call them quality of life improvement.
Yeah. You know, because even like, going back and playing some of those old school games now isn't fun. It really isn't. Like,
I must admit, the one thing that I miss the most is the ability to pause games and have the game actually pause.
That is one quality of life thing that I certainly miss, especially when these, act all online, whatever nonsense. You pause and everything sort of fucks you up for a while.
Yeah.
But so I think it's a bit different. No, but it varies on the thing specifically. For me, I don't have fucking time. If I lose 5 hours, like 5 hours is for me 2.5 gaming sessions. You know what I mean? And I only have so many hours of my week that I can give up to playing games. Even as people that make content around it, and we're very kind to get review codes, etc. Like, we have to be very careful with the time that we have. But Killer also adds in the chat, as much as quote we're going soft, part of that is recognizing that we're older now. We don't have all this extra time to play games anymore. 100%. It's just not feasible. And no comes back and they say, I get where you're coming from and I don't disagree. I was annoyed at myself. I was about to save. I just wanted to push it and do after this one last. That's it's a tough one. Like 5 hours is fucked. So fucked.
Everyone likes some good old fashioned saves coming.
Yeah, big time.
You should see me when I play RPGs. Like, I think when I finished Tales of Arise, I had 12 different save points, just all going at once. Because I'll save on a different slot each time, just in case I like fuck up monumentally, and I can just go back an incremental point. Oh yeah, and fix my mistake.
Any game with dialogue options where it's like, you want to do this, I'm like, I always say before it, because for me, I look at it, I go, there is absolutely no way.
And then there's,
what if I make the wrong choice?
And I love those points in games where it's like, if you do this, there is no going back anymore. Like, once you go on this path, you can never come back to this area. I'm like, all right, no, I'm not ready. Save new file. Yes, I'm ready.
Yeah, I am way too anxious.
I want to be able to come back to this point just in case.
We should also mention the Mullet Show has just resubscribed for his 44th month in a row. Thank you, sir. I believe it's pretty much since we started streaming the show. So, streaming in general, I should say. So, big thank you there. That's like, what, 4 years? Holy shit, that's like 4 years. Hot damn.
Close to.
Hot damn. Anything else we missed from last week, Max?
No, that's pretty much it.
Beautiful. Well, then, before we jump into the main part, like the main section, the main news, we should talk about the one section we do each and every week, Max. It is called our Get Less Fat Update. For those that don't know, I started a weight loss journey in 2020 using a product called the Man Shake. It is a meal replacement shake that I am lucky enough to be an ambassador for. Therefore, they help support this show. So in order to keep ourselves accountable, as Max has started a weight loss journey this year too, each and every week we come and talk about how we're going, where we're at, what all these things are. So this week, Max, obviously being unwell, I imagine.
Yeah, I've not had any shakes.
I imagine you have not continued.
I've been clogged up here, and liquid food is just not fun.
No, it's not the ideal.
No. So my week's been pretty meh this week.
My week
Your week
has been fantastic. So, for those that don't know, I started my weight loss journey at 142 kilos. This week, I weighed in at 102 on the nose. I have now officially lost 40 kilos, which was my original goal. So my original goal was 40 kilos or as close to 100 as I can get. So I did it. I achieved my fucking goal. After 18 months, I guess, I did it. I made it work. I've lost just under 30% of my original body weight. Absolutely insane. Big thank you everyone for giving me love in the chat. But yeah, no, I've absolutely done it, and I cannot thank the Manshake enough for literally changing my life, and either in how I see myself, it allowed me to do something and achieve something as well, like the nature of my brain. Right, so while I had the week away, I did get my results of my ADHD assessment, and even though it's not an official diagnosis, because that's another path I have to go down, it goes, hey, it's very likely that he has. I think I scored like 97 out of 100 or something, so something fucking crazy. But with that comes my inability to see things through. I've done it. I saw something through, something very, very hard. And like for someone with the brain like mine, doing something for 2 years, each and every week, every fucking day, doing it exactly this way is unprecedented. But I did it. Every day, like, because, you know, like impulse control is a problem. Every day I fought against, I fought against breaking my diet, rocking that cage. You know, it's like eating things I shouldn't, because initially before that, you know, I incorrectly used eating as a coping mechanism. So I had to break that. I then had to break impulse control. But yeah, after 18-ish months, I did it. I hit 30 kilos in a year. And then essentially half a year, I used at just to get these last 10 kilos done, because it took me a while. You know, because of the last is a push. So my next goal, I guess, is to get to 100, lose another 2 kilos, get into some double digits. I can't tell you the last time I was in double digits. It's actually insane how, like, I think I weigh less now than when I was in year 8 maybe. Like I've always been a big person, so like I finally get to like relive my wardrobe that I wanted to have as a fucking emo kid back in the day. And now I can do it, and thankfully the cyclical nature of fashion is all coming back. So it's absolutely fantastic. I'm very, very happy to finally hit my goal. It felt like it was taking forever, but yeah, to look back on it and see how far it's gone, it's been absolute pleasure, and to with that as well, I want to thank the Manshake for not just supporting my journey as an as having me as an ambassador for the show, ambassador for the product, as well as on their fortnightly show Man Talk. Additionally, having all you guys and girls, and you know, however you wish to see yourself, choose to see yourself. Without your support, I couldn't have been here. Like, I'm sure all of you are so fucking sick of me posting my shit on social media, being like, hey, here's my side by side, look at where I'm at. I know people got fucking mad at me, but like, there's very few things that I can be truly proud of in this world, something that I have done, and this is one of them. So I apologize to anyone that has been frustrated or annoyed or just fucking sick of seeing my shit, but when I have, it's me demonstrating pride in who I am and my achievement, and it doesn't happen a lot for me. It really, really doesn't. So it's been nice to be able to have those moments and to have, you know, those around me that have been incredibly supportive on this journey. And so now I'm in the difficult part. Now I've got to make sure I don't gain that shit back, Max. You know what I mean? Like that's the tough part.
Yeah.
But anyways, if you would like to start your own weight loss journey and possibly change your life like I did, there is a link in the description. It is bit.ly/FTP Manshake. You don't even have to buy anything. Just go check out the site, see what they have on offer. And if you want to give it a go, give it a go. Who knows where you could end up. All right, that's enough of that shit. That's enough shilling and good feels in the chest. Let's get in a section called Inform the Players. We tell you about what happened this week in PlayStation.
Well, like every month this year, the PlayStation Plus games have leaked again. So the PlayStation Plus selection of PlayStation 5 and PS4 games for December 2021 looked to have leaked early, with reliable French website Deal Labs getting the jump once more. Due to be officially announced on the 1st of December, the games are as follow: Godfall, PS5, PS4, Mortal Shell, PS4, Lego DC Supervillains, PS4.
I'm mostly stoked for Lego.
Solid games in my opinion. Mortal Shell, another Souls-like. Godfall is a looter slasher, which recently got a big expansion, I believe. So it seems like a good time to do that.
And also a launch game for the PS5, so it looks like we're already dipping into the launch games, which is handy a year on, as more people are presumably getting their hands on PS5s. In the city, when I went for the wrestling, I saw some people carrying them, so I'm like, oh, it look like another shipment's come in. Fantastic.
So obviously, this all remains to be seen. We will have to wait for an official announcement on the 1st of December. But their track record has been pretty good this year, and it's pretty safe.
Yeah, it would be a reliable thought process. Lego DC Supervillains is a big one because my son loves superheroes right now, which is awesome. So be able to get this and him to sort of play a couple of different Lego games as well, and a DC one because he's currently been playing the Marvel one. So to jump over to DC would be, as someone that's more of a DC fan than a Marvel fan, big plus for me.
Yeah. Next up, with the PS Vita approaching its 10th anniversary, author Sandeep Rai has launched a Kickstarter for a 400-page book documenting the entire history of the now discontinued device. Vita Means Life, which was targeting a goal of £6,000, has already surpassed 15,000 at the time of writing, and promises to, quote, take a look back at the events that shaped the fortunes of the format, from its well-received announcement to its rocky launch and everything in between.
What an awesome idea. Like, ideally, if they can see, if this individual is able to get some sort of behind the scenes, shit about the Vita, because the Vita launched, like, there was ambition going in, and then upon delivery, everyone went, ooh. And then, of course, it's rocky support, where not a lot of first parties were giving it its love, and then they kind of just let it out to die. So I think if it's an in-depth look at the history of the Vita, I think my Vita's, where is it? Right there behind me on the shelf. Boom. Mm-hmm. So I think this would be at least, at minimum, a very interesting read. I'll check it out. Look, as I said, Max, there are people that I saw in the city yesterday with a PS5. But there are some that haven't even got a PS4 yet. Some are still playing on PS3, which is weird in and of itself, but some people are still actually playing multiplayer on those PS3s. So most, if not all, of Sony's servers for PS3 online functionality were shut down years ago as the company looked to the future. That's not stopped some industrious fans from working to bring these classics back, however. A group called themselves PS1, PlayStation Online Network Emulation, has been busy working to restore Sony's online games to let you carry on playing them. So to my point, there are people playing on PS3s, and they're finding ways to adapt to overcome Sony's decision. It's quite amazing. By reverse engineering the PS3's online protocols, the group is setting up its own servers to which players can connect and enjoy multiplayer like it's 2008 all over again. The project is very much a work in progress, but there are several games already supported in this way. Motorstorm, Killzone 2, and Warhawk are among the games already functional, but there are a lot in the works too. PS1 is bringing back titles such as SOCOM Confrontation, Resistance Fall of Man, Wipeout HD, and even PlayStation Home. There's no time scale for any of this work, however, as the group is operating voluntarily and they are not affiliated with Sony in any way. And this isn't even a monetary, pass. It's like there's no money coming in here. It's just doing it for the love of doing it, which in and of itself is absolutely crazy. Would you return to PlayStation Home, Max?
No. So there's a detailed guide on how you go about connecting your PlayStation 3 to their servers. You basically got to go in and set up your network settings correctly and change your gateways, and you essentially run their gateways as your own, and you can kind of join their essential private servers to play these titles, which is kind of cool. I don't know how big of a player base they're going to get, but it's cool. It's always cool to see people do stuff like this.
Yeah, and for me, it always baffles me when I hear about these stories, people doing it simply for the love of it. That's so much time and effort and just unimaginably unvalidating tasks, right? There is that. They just do it for the love of it. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. But shout out to them. I am playing PlayStation Home, but what I do wonder though, like an example, maybe not for Resistance because Resistance didn't have trophies, but excuse me. If some of these games did in fact have online trophies, does this allow them to ping? Because I imagine there are people that don't have platinums that would really appreciate these trophies. Something to think about. I imagine they wouldn't.
Kojima Productions has announced that it is expanding its reach with a new division focused entirely on film, TV, and music. The new team will be based in LA and led by Riley Russell, formerly of PlayStation. Russell spent almost 20 years at the company, occupying positions such as Chief Legal Officer and VP of Business Affairs. Russell said, quote, "The new division will be tasked with working with creative and talented professionals in television, music, and film, as well as the more familiar games industry. The goal of this new expansion will be to expand, quote, the reach and awareness of the properties now under development at Kojima Productions, and to make them even more a part of our popular culture." Business development manager at the studio, Yoshiko Fukada, then added, quote, "Our new division will take the studio into even more areas that present our creative narratives beyond video games and to open up ways for our fans to communicate and immerse themselves in those spaces." Are we getting a Death Stranding TV series starring Norman Reedus?
Why not? This has always made sense to me. The idea, because if you look at what Kojima has done and what Kojima wants to do,
I mean, if you just look at Kojima's Twitter page, he's just constantly hanging out with movie stars wanting to make films.
Yeah, so very clearly he has a very cinematic approach in the games that he makes and the stories that he writes. However, the stories that he envisions are, way bigger than what a simple movie, 2-hour movie could deliver.
Yeah.
So he clearly is someone of ambition or one of that creative path, but games has always been his medium. So if there's ways that he can transfer what he has created, what he will create into that space, or at least help funnel some of that creative energy of his into some other projects, whether it be as a publishing partner or like a funding body, why the fuck not, right? Look, if PlayStation themselves are wanting to invest in those cross-media, there's actually a term for that. What's the term for it? I think it is cross-media. Sort of cross-media ventures, whether it be having something on TV and whatever. I'm sure there is still a fiscal risk here, but I think the name of Kojima alone will at least support some small to medium-sized projects if he wanted to go that way.
I'm going to read the next one because I've read it and it's very confusing how I've typed it out.
I have no idea how you've wrote that.
So I'm just going to save you by doing this. So
I appreciate it.
I've titled this "Making a Returnal." So a couple of days ago on Twitter, Housemarque tweeted out a picture of a screenshot of something inside the game.
Mm-hmm.
I personally couldn't recognize what it was, and it just had the caption, Atropos ... question mark. Do you think that Housemarque could be hinting at some DLC for Returnal?
Why not? Because from memory, there was an interview that they did where they essentially said the idea of we aren't thinking about it currently. And like the phrasing of that to means like, hey, they're not working on it right now, but doesn't mean that
memory,
they're not
Housemarque
going to do it.
from memory, Housemarque have supported a lot of their other games with post-game content.
Resogun got an expansion from memory. Matterfall, I don't know. Next Marketer didn't from memory. Like not from a full DLC expansion perspective. Like Returnal's Resogun's expansion was kind of just more levels really.
Yeah.
So I don't think they've delivered anything to the scale of what I presume this would be with Returnal. But it also checks out, right? At least from a them becoming a first party studio. Quite a number of Sony's first party titles have tried to support DLC where possible. So it doesn't surprise me or baffle me that they might be interested in going down that path here as well.
Yeah.
And why the fuck not? Why not? Would it make you go back?
Yeah. I enjoyed the game. Seeing new stuff would be cool. There is only 5-ish biomes, and they're kind of all mirrors. The first 3 are very similar to the second 3. They so it would be good to see some different enemy types. Even if it's just different, because they have daily leaderboards for set runs, like seeded runs. Just different weapons and enemies would be cool, even if it's something as small as that. Yeah, definitely check it out.
Yeah, I think for the right people, it might be something that they are really wanting. Me, not so much. Hitman 3, Max. A game so this dropped in January, and then kind of had like a big explosion, then got real quiet real fast. But Hitman 3 will continue to support its post-launch content as part of a second year of supports. The studio of IO Interactive have announced that this will take the form of quote, new maps, storylines, modes, and ways to play, end quote. One of which is an elusive target arcade. Arriving in January of 2022, which is literally the second year of the release, it will dramatically change how elusive target missions are played, potentially with modifiers and tweaks that you can make yourself. However, more information will be dropped later in the year. I really did not spend enough time with Hitman 3, if I'm being honest. I had full ambition, like I was super keen. I just didn't pull the trigger. Didn't come to a pun intended, I guess. I just didn't commit.
I played like the first 4 or 5 levels, and one of the earliest levels was like my favorite. There's really cool, essentially murder mystery.
Yes.
Played out, and it was absolutely fantastic. And none of the other levels kind of grabbed me the way that one did.
What I found is
I felt like it almost peaked too early.
Yeah, like the plethora of choice really kind of fucked me up, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, you do have that kind of analysis paralysis of where am I going? What am I going to do? I have so many options. Which one's going to work the best?
Yeah, and once I set my path, I was like, I've achieved my goal. You're going to go back and do it again? Probably not, because I've done it.
Yeah. Yeah. Ryan, quick bits.
Woo.
Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection has been rated for release on PlayStation 5 and PC in North America. We may get it.
Yeah, well, it is coming, but it's so... was it dated?
No, not as far as I'm aware.
All right, I'm going to have a look in it because I feel
as
like
I mentioned,
dated. As
I mentioned earlier, Resident Evil Village has won the Game of the Year at the Golden Joystick Awards. Upcoming brawler Sifu will have no difficulty options at launch, but may be added later.
It does not. It has not been dated, so it just says 2022. So if it's been rated, we presume it's probably in the next like 6-ish months, I guess. At least a handful of months potentially. But yeah. So Resident Evil 3 Village. Resident Evil 7 Village Game of the Year.
8 Village.
8. Fuck. 8. God, I'm having a bad day. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so Brawler Sifu will not have difficulty options at launch, but may be added later.
Makes sense because I think that's what their game was trying to deliver. So
Ghost of Tsushima and Sackboy are invading Fall Guys in Season 6.
people are still playing Fall Guys. Fucking A.
The first episode of Gorilla's official Horizon podcast, Gaia, is now available.
Have you checked it out?
I have not.
Me either.
And Rock Band developer Harmonix has been acquired by Epic Games, so I guess the Fortnite concerts are going to get better.
Well, that's essentially what they've been assigned to do. So, as both you and I, versed fans of Rock Band as the game genre, whichever, it's cool because Harmonix is still going as long as they can support Rock Band, I guess. The only way they really support them now is by, I think, weekly challenges mixed with some weekly DLC drops. As long as that continues, I don't see that being a bad thing, but you don't really need a full development team to do so. And then they were working, what was the game that they released recently? Was it Mixer? No.
Yes.
Fuser.
Yeah,
So it was that sort of DJ set game, which was released in the back end of last year. That didn't do as well as I think they imagined or were hoping. Because I don't think it's had a lot of
it was a
support.
lack. It was a lack of plastic utensils.
Plastic peripherals is the word you wanted. Plastic peripherals are handy, even though I myself have just got rid of a couple. So, throw back to my friends at Deathmatch Down Under. Their coming show this Saturday here in Victoria at Ballarat. The show is called Through the Fire and the Flames on Expert. They're essentially having a deathmatch tournament, as a deathmatch match, where the only weapons that can be used are Rock Band and Guitar Hero instruments. So I donated my old broken drum set and 2 guitars from Guitar Hero Live because that game isn't supported anymore. So I'm hoping someone gets really injured because those things are not designed not to be broken because they're designed for children to destroy them. So that should be a blast. So if you don't want to use your instruments anymore, just give them a wrestling promotion. They might work in your favor. But yeah, so what they're essentially being hired to is create essentially musical journeys in Fortnite. And I think they with these massive success that Fortnite has seen with those concerts from like Ariana Grande, I think
Travis Scott.
Yeah, Travis Scott, who I don't really know who that is. I think Post Malone did
Marshmello
one as well. Marshmello. Like this does seem to be a path they want to go down in the future. So why not have a studio that is literally best known for making music focused games, or at least music focused content too. So even from a record label connection standpoint, this will work in their favor. So even if they were just bought for licensing agreements, sure. Speaking of licensing agreements, let me fucking rebuy the Fleetwood Mac Rumors DLC from way back. I didn't know about Rumors at the time, so I didn't buy it. Now I can't fucking play it. I love that album. Let me play some Rock Band, you fucks. All right, here are the top 10 best-selling games for the week ending the 21st of November 2021. Number 10, Jump Force. It was on sale. Number 9.
Yeah, it's currently $10, and it's really weird that it's on that list because apparently this online servers are shutting down in like a few months.
Oh no. Well, fucking weeb shit. I imagine it's just all them weebs. Loving the weeb stuff. So number 9, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. Number 8, Red Dead Redemption 2. Number 7, Far Cry 6. Number 6, Grand Theft Auto 5. Number 5, The Last of Us Part 2. Number 4, NBA 2K22. Number 3, FIFA 21. So EA Sports FIFA 21, I should say. And number 2, Call of Duty Vanguard. Number 1, Battlefield 2042. Now, I have not played either Call of Duty Vanguard or Battlefield 2042. Interesting.
I've played both.
How's that going for you?
Battlefield was hot garbage at launch, like it normally is. Riddled with server connection issues, so many bugs. There's buildings without collision. It's rough. There has been some patches. It does seem to be running a lot better. Call of Duty Vanguard is fine. I've realized that I'm only good at Call of Duty games in the first week of the launch when no one knows the maps, and it's purely based on accuracy and skill and not where the best hiding spot in the map is. And then I'm just terrible now because I don't play it enough to learn the maps. So I always get killed by some dude sitting in a corner with a shotgun.
Yeah, I've given up on ever playing Call of Duty again.
Well, if none of those games tickle your fancy, maybe some of these upcoming titles will.
Segue like a motherfucker. Well done.
I know, right? We have Evil Geniuses 2 World Domination coming to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 November 30th. Solar Ash, PS4, PS5, December 2nd. Kung Fu Kickball, PS4, PS5, December 2nd. Chorus, PS4, PS5, December 3rd. And I believe these are just out of the week, but I added them anyway. White Shadows, PS5, December 7. And Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker, PS4, PS5, December 7.
Did you add it just so you could talk about Final Fantasy Online?
I know, because I don't think I'm going to pick it up, to be honest with you. Well, it's an MMO that I have to pay to play, and I do not have the time to pay to play.
Okay.
It's just kind of wasted money.
And then you additionally, so is the DLC on money on top?
So I have to buy the expansion, and then I have to pay to play the game. It costs about $30 a month. And if I only play it like a day out of that month, it's kind of a waste of money.
Yeah, like a $30 gaming session is a bit much.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, that does bring us to the end of the show. Big thank you, everyone, for joining us as always. As we said, we got about 3-ish more shows in us for the year before we jump into a Christmas break. At some point, we want to talk about your Christmas pickup bargain list or whatever, things that you should probably pick up for your family.
The Black Friday sales on now, it's massive. There's huge savings. I think Guardians of the Galaxy is down to like $60.
Yeah, which is
on the PlayStation Store.
Pretty fun, fantastic.
Which is apparently is a steal. Apparently the game is like a dark horse game of the year contender.
Yeah, very. It's from what I'm hearing as well, which is crazy.
Yeah. So check them out. There's tons and tons of titles on sale at the moment. You can probably pick up a very cheap bargain.
Additionally, we will have our Game of the Year awards as well, which are noticeably less prestigious than the shittest awards that you could think of. We will do those as we have probably in the last episode of the year. It's hence to what we do, which will likely be releasing on the 14th, perhaps. Yeah, probably the 14th or maybe the week after. But yeah, so sorry, the 13th or the 20th. I'm thinking probably the 13th. So we'll let you know, just because a lot of things are up in the air at the moment, and we'll do the best to get the shows together where we can. But there's at least 3 more in the year, including this one. So I guess 2 more after that. So until then, Max, send us home.
Well, everybody, this PlayStation conversation happens every Monday morning at 8 a.m. on podcast services, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. If you'd like to take part in future conversations with us, come and check out our socials. Facebook, Discord, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those links can be found in the description below.
If you want to join us as the conversation happens, over twitch.tv/thepopcultures, where you can watch us record this show live, where you can jump in the chat and become part of the show. If you want to support the show, you can. Tell your friends, tell your family about this PlayStation pod. If you are listening on podcast service, be sure to give us a 5-star rating and a written review. If you are on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment below. I endeavor to answer every single comment. If you want to support the show, you can. If you want to support the show financially, you can at patreon.com/thepopculturist, as well as our merchandise store, popculture.com/shop, where you can buy shirts and other assorted shit with our logos on it. But until next week, I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm Max Cooper.
And that was For the Players.